First of all, my family, Melania, Barron, Don Jr. and Kimberly, Ivanka and Jared, Tiffany and Michael. They're so supportive.
My father built the skyline of New York City. And this is the thanks he gets?
And then I got indicted a second time, and a third time, and a fourth time. And a lot of people said that that's why the black people like me.
Are you crazy or just plain stupid?
We have an ocean in between us. They don't have that ocean in between. I'm very highly educated. Although he did announce the other day that he'd much rather see Biden as president. And I agree with him. Wow. Mercedes, that's pretty good. I stand before you today not only as your past and hopefully future president, but as a proud political dissident. I am a dissident. I know words. I have the best words.
They're cheering and they're excited to see President come.
Whoops. What's up, everybody? I had to put that part at the end. Just couldn't help it. It was a little too much information there, Margie. Welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm Jeremy. That's Mike. We got a great show lined up for you today.
Full of words.
We have a special guest, as the title of the show implies. But before we get into that, we do want to keep track. For those of you who are keeping track or are curious, today's MAGA Million jackpot is up to $464,805,336.70 down to the penny. Man. So if you guys want to contribute to that, you can buy some gold sneakers that you'll never receive. They probably won't even be made.
There is still no ship date yet, I'd like to point out.
Right. You're gonna at least July is what we've heard. You can go do the GoFundMe. Grant Cardone's wife.
I haven't checked the GoFundMe in a while.
I don't even want to look at it because it's just gonna piss me off.
I'm gonna do it.
Because last time I tried to GoFundMe, I got $25. You know what I mean?
You should have committed 91 felonies.
On Twitter, I saw today you could even get commemorative coins that are worth nothing. Also, I saw this on February 16th. Donald Trump had a Save America dinner. Time to raise some money at the Donald J. Trump. All right, this is going to make me laugh. Presidential Library and Steakhouse. Are you serious? All right, so $10,000 a plate. No splitting, no sharing, no coupons, and a 50% tip on top. So anyways, we'll just say 15 grand. And I highlighted because I don't know what the fuck is a MAGA salad bar.
That does not sound healthy. They do not believe in cleanliness. There's no sneeze guard. I guarantee you there is no eat from that.
Unwoke salad. Racist salad. All right. I'm sorry. I'll stop.
Wait,
and cash only,
update.
Of course.
Quick update.
No, I don't want to know.
GoFundMe, $1.27.877 million.
Idiots. Stop donating to this guy. Like, it's absolutely bonkers.
So there you go.
The economy must be doing good under Joe Biden if all these broke assholes have enough money to give to Donald Trump. Yeah, right. Don't bring that up. All right. So anyway, getting on to our special guest. One of my favorite people that I've met since I started this journey about a year ago. I love the content that he puts out. He always speaks from the heart, and he is from part of the country that is going through a lot of turmoil at the moment under Republican rule, which we'll get into first. But before I get into that, let me play a video of his and bring him onto the show.
Well, folks, these songs write themselves. I call this one Sneakers to Suckers. He never worked a hard day at the factory, never walked down one country road. His daddy gave him $1 million, and he calls that a small loan. Yet he's fooled so many blue collars into thinking he could clean up their mess. He wouldn't piss on them if they were dying, wipe his nose on their Sunday best. Now he's out hawking sneakers to suckers. There's one born every day. They can't put food on their table, but for him they'll scrape up and pay. Trading cards and mugshots, for a tiny piece of his suit. He's out hawking sneakers to suckers, but he wouldn't walk a mile in their shoes.
Got Tennessee Brando on our show talking shit with us about what's going on in the country. How's it going, man? Thanks for coming on. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Let me unmute you. There you go.
There we go.
I'm sorry.
There we go. Yeah, I'm doing great, man. I really appreciate you guys having me on. It's gonna be fun.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot going on in Tennessee. What do you have going on right now? I know you got any new projects that you're working on. I know your YouTube channel is going pretty good. If anybody that's watching wants to follow Tennessee Brando on YouTube, I have the description in the video, it's in the description of the video, and I believe you put it in the comments as well.
Yeah,
is that right?
Okay. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys, man. Yeah, the YouTube channel is going really good, and I'm just staying busy working on videos. I mean, there's never a slow news day when you do this, you know. I'm kind of like, I feel like when it comes to the music too, I kind of feel like Weird Al. I remember I saw a comment one time from Weird Al where someone asked him, "There's like, how do you write songs like this?" And he's like, "Well, other people write them, and I just make a parody." Well, it's kind of the same with me. It's like these songs write themselves. That song wrote itself. It's like I just reached out and grabbed it. So that's kind of what I've been.
Awesome. Like,
Well,
yeah,
it takes
when
a good eye to pluck that from there.
It's like when I'm cutting videos for the show, it's like you don't even have to make stuff up. All you gotta do is just watch the news, and the stuff writes itself. It really does.
Well, it speaks to the absurdity of what the hell is happening nowadays. Like, it's not even real anymore. There is no such thing as parody.
No, there's not. That's what's funny. I remember 2 years ago seeing was it Tina Fey that played Sarah Palin? They asked her, said, how do you come up with that material? And she said, I don't.
Yeah,
I know, right? It just writes itself.
Just repeats what she said.
You could actually read off a Trump interview or a Marjorie Taylor Greene interview and like kind of change around the personality of it, make it look like you're telling jokes, and people would not know that it's a real speech. You'd be like, no, that's not.
That's one of the hardest things too about doing this, you know, is when you do, people sends me stuff all the time and they'll say, what do you think about this? And there's sometimes, you know, that it does turn out to be satire and does turn out to be a joke, but it's believable in their world. You know,
right.
You're reading it going, I could absolutely see them saying this, but you know,
there's things that I've seen where I'll have to verify it like 3 or 4 times. Like I'll read stuff and be like, there's no freaking way somebody just said this.
We'll text each other and be like, is this real? Are you sure
and I'll let it go for a little bit and I'll look up again. I'm like, God damn it, it's still there. Like, you know what I mean? Like some of this stuff is insane. All right. So before we get into talking about Trump and CPAC and the Fox News interview, I want to talk about some stuff that's going on in Tennessee, because there's a lot going on in your state. And I can't imagine what it's like being, a Democrat in a state like Tennessee.
Yeah.
It's
got to be brutal. Human. I live in country of Pennsylvania, so I see a lot of Trump signs that people have custom made and stuff like that.
Hey, I keep telling you,
like, I get it.
I see an amazing amount of Trump nonsense out here, and I am in like Long Island, New York. Everyone's like, ooh, no, I am in red hell out here. Let me tell you.
Wow. Yeah, it definitely is here. I'm right on the tri-state too of Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia. So, you know, I've got all 3 states, but you know, at least, I mean, what's funny is my family grew up in Kentucky. I grew up in Kentucky. So what's funny is my mom and dad will refer to Andy Beshear. They'll say he's our governor, and they'll tell me something. They'll be like, hey, you know, our governor did this. I'm like, wait a minute, our governor didn't do that. Our governor. And so
it's so confusing.
So one day my dad was like, listen, I'm not claiming Bill Lee. He's like, I'm not going to claim that guy. So when dad says our governor, I know he's actually talking about Kentucky.
Gotcha. Yeah. So it's got to be hard, because some of the stuff that you have going on in your state makes my blood boil. And let me play this video.
I think a lot of it's you're used to, I don't know, everyone making fun of certain parts of the country for stereotypical reasons, but now like we got videos of people marching. Jeremy's gonna show.
Let me play this video. And these are the same assholes that marched in Florida, and they've been to a couple other states. I forget the name of the Blood Tribe, they call themselves. Freaking morons. Here you go.
Apparently they had a lot of Blood Tribe insignia. Apparently that is a neo-Nazi group that is well documented. And they were walking in tandem on Broadway.
Nashville leaders say they're concerned following a demonstration throughout downtown Saturday. Jewish Metro Council member Jacob Coupin recalls wrapping up an East Bank walk, heading to a charity event, then immediately getting calls making sure he was okay.
My response to them was kind of sadly, I'm almost used to it at this point. Over the summer, we experienced a number of incidences where people dropped anti-Semitic literature on people's doorsteps, and there was an incident where someone painted a swastika on a building.
Nashville Vice Mayor Angie Henderson calling the swastika-bearing marchers not welcomed in Nashville. Meanwhile, House Majority Leader William Lambert and other Republican lawmakers also condemned the group, calling them thugs and clowns.
Yeah, this is becoming way like. Do you guys see a lot of that down there, or this is something new since like the Trump era?
It's definitely. I mean, since the Trump era come along, we've saw more and more of it. I remember, not to get off subject. I mean, but I remember back when Trump was running for office. I'm a musician too, and I played a show where I opened up for some Southern rock bands like Molly Hatchet was there and Jimmy Van Zant, and I'm opening up.
Whoa.
And they had a protest in the town I was playing in because of the whole Confederate flag thing, and it was back when the kid had shot up the church. And they took the flag down in South Carolina. Well, I remember
South Carolina at the time.
Yeah, I remember because they brought that flag down, it caused people around here to have a big march and do a big thing.
Yeah.
So I'm playing at this show, and the people that had the march ended up coming over to the show, of course. So suddenly now I'm playing to a sea of Confederate flags. But I remember I remember all of a sudden this DJ getting on the microphone in between sets, and he starts talking about Trump. And I started hearing and at the time when Trump was running, I just thought, man, this is a joke. He's just trying to improve his
like
brand.
a lot of us did. Yeah.
I didn't think it was real, but I just noticed the energy in that crowd when he started talking about Trump and the wall and everything.
Really?
And those people that had just got done marching had came over to this event, And so now it's like, I remember seeing that energy and going, damn. And it just seems like it's escalated from there. It just seems like it's gotten worse. And I actually went out of town and came back home when I saw the news of that happening in Nashville. It's just disgusting.
Now, if I remember correctly, you've actually been turned away from venues because of your political.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I guess.
Yeah, I made a living playing music for a long time, and once I started doing this kind of commentary, I just slowly noticed people not returning my phone calls anymore, not
That's
returning
weird,
my email.
though. Free speech, you shouldn't be punished for that, right?
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
It's the people and the same people are always bitching about cancel culture. But I've told people I'm cool with it. I would much rather be sitting here talking to you guys about issues that matter as opposed to sitting on a bar stool with somebody dropping $1 in for me to play another Skinner tune. I'm tired of it. It's like I'd much rather be sitting here having the good conversations.
So on top of Nazis marching in the street, you guys also have a brutal, near complete abortion ban. No exception for rape or incest, if I'm not mistaken. And the only exception, I believe, is if the mom's pretty much about to die.
Yeah.
Is the only exception, which blows me away. And on top of that, now we have they passed a law or a bill that officials can refuse same-sex marriages if they want.
Yeah, it's getting so out of hand here, man. We have Gloria Johnson. She's a member of the House, but she's also running for Senate against Marsha Blackburn. And I had her on my podcast. She's great. She brought a bill that would protect children 13 and under. It would give them access to an abortion if need be. Wow. And she brought that bill up, and the Republicans slapped it down, which makes no sense because in the state of Tennessee, anyone under 13 cannot legally consent to sex. So her argument was it's rape no matter how you slice it. So because they were using it in the case of rape. Well, in her defense, it was. But of course, Republicans went against that. So now, say a 11-year-old girl gets pregnant in the state of Tennessee, she's forced to carry a rapist baby.
It's amazing how. Oh man, it used to be that there were like the racists, then there were the extreme religious fanatics, then there were like the anti-vax people, but the decrepit umbrella that Trump has put around the worst element of our country. And their force, their power maybe isn't as much as it was in 2016 or even 2020, but we're not dealing with people that are reasonable that you could talk to. When you've got to the point where you're marching as someone who is a proud Nazi, when you're marching as someone who is totally anti-science, who is totally anti-woman, who with every single bill they pass or deny prove that they're anti-child, like how do you, I don't want to say stay positive, but like what's the path out of that? Do you like there's a lot of pushes to turn states blue, to turn states purple, right? Everyone thinks they could turn Texas purple. Does Tennessee have a purple future? Is it lost? Where do we go? Do we have to wait for these people to die out? Because they're getting out of the woodworks proudly now, and it's weird.
That's a really good question, man. And when I was talking with Gloria Johnson, you know, I was kind of beginning to lose all hope because I'm right in the middle of the Bible Belt and everything is so loud where I'm at. But, you know, Gloria is all over the state of Tennessee, and she's in Nashville and you know, and sees a much broader spectrum of people in Tennessee than I do, being where I'm at. And so she said she does feel there is a movement starting to grow amongst people. There's a lot of people who are tired of the same old thing. And so hopefully in time it could happen. But, you know, we just got to keep talking and get our voices out there and get them heard because, you know, we're a deep red state where I'm at.
And there are other politicians that are stepping up. Here, I'm going to show this video. This is Gavin Newsom paid for an ad to drop in Tennessee about abortion.
Yo, this one's brutal.
Yeah, it doesn't get any more brutal than this. If you don't understand what's going
and
on
again,
in this video,
it's
then
not
you just don't get
satire.
it.
It's not hyperbole. This is like actual, factual, right now, today could be happening.
Exactly.
Taking Dr. Statement. Dr. Statement, please.
Help! Trump Republicans want to criminalize young women who travel to receive the reproductive care they need. Don't let them hold Tennessee women hostage. Take action at righttotravel.org. Campaign for Democracy Group is responsible for the content of this advertising.
For a group that says they want to protect womanhood, they are vilifying and criminalizing womanhood.
Absolutely. They really are. I mean, how many of those 125 Republican GOP or GOPs in Congress that want to ban IVF altogether? It's like they're going after this. The Handmaid's Tale. Like
you really want people to have more babies, but now you're saying no, don't have babies that way. It's just okay if it's rape, but if you want to pay to have babies, you just have to be a white Republican.
And for people that didn't catch it in that video, there was a rape kit sitting on the side there while she was being handcuffed to that bed. I mean, that doesn't get more obvious than that. We're going backwards as a country, people.
Do those messages fly where you are? Like, is that something that's going to resonate? I keep hearing about Roe-vember and that we're finally seeing a point where women are pissed, and Republican women who could always lie and say who they voted for to their husbands. Sure, yeah. Are we going to start seeing women fighting back? And does that message motivate people?
I think we possibly could, and here's why I say that. In Kentucky, you know, Andy Beshear recently won re-election, and it's a deep red state, and nobody saw that coming. A lot of people really thought that, because there was a whole lot of people mad at Andy Beshear over the way he handled COVID, which we over here in Tennessee, we were like, man, we wish he was over here helping us, you know. But you know, I really believe that the women showed up and helped Andy get reelected. I think a lot of times, you know, they may just sit and listen to their asshole Republican husband go off about stuff. But I think when it comes time to get in the poll, you know, get in there and actually vote, I think we could see some things turn around. I think that has to resonate. It has to. I know a lot of people, I can hear the guys in Tennessee looking at that and going, they're just trying to scare people. But that's really what's happening. And there was there was a long time where, you know, I used to think, you know, I don't know how you guys felt about it, but years ago, if you'd asked me 20 years ago, I would have said, no, that abortion will always be available. It'll always be there.
Yes.
This is an issue that Republicans use to scare people and to tug at the heartstrings of the church. That's what I always thought.
That's all it was.
You
that's
know,
all it was.
But they meant it and they got it accomplished. And now they've took it to such an extreme that I think now that people are starting to see those extremes, they're going to have to pull back.
We're starting to see the dominoes are falling. And it was all about this.
Are starting to understand that they can't be subtle anymore. And I think that video itself has shock value. And we've showed other abortion ads that were just powerful, but now I'm seeing actual Democrat, and they're usually by an organization, but not.
It's funny you say that, Jeremy, because like I forget what book it is. God, I have no memory. I read it probably over 10 years ago, and it was something about
I remember
ruthlessness. And how the only way to fight back against a force that will ruthlessly try to destroy you is to adopt ruthlessness in a way and just be able to give it up when you've achieved that, when you've righted that wrong. So while this doesn't count as ruthlessness, the fact that we have to on the progressive side be as viscerally impactful as possible. You know, they're going to say that the Democrats are chopping babies up and selling them in Chinatown for drugs.
Right.
Well, that's bullshit. But if I have to walk by another clinic where there are people holding up signs of mutilated babies, okay, you know what? We could show videos that show the horror of what it's like to be a woman and a girl in a state run by these people. Sorry.
Exactly. So
gotta do it.
All right, moving on from the yes, that's hard to talk about. Nazis and abortion is not exactly a light subject. So let's move on to Donald Trump, one of our favorite people to talk about. We don't talk about him because I just talk about him because it gives us so much material. Like, it's so fun to watch. He is declining so fast. I don't care what anybody says. Let me show this video first, because this is one of my favorite Trump gaffes. He called his wife by the wrong name. Maybe not only did he call her by the wrong name, he called her by like a stripper name.
It might have been his favorite diaper changing name, the person who changes his diapers one.
But if anybody didn't watch Laura Ingraham Town Hall with Donald Trump, she tries so hard to like coach him and keep him into some kind of normal conversation.
Yep.
And it's impossible. It's impossible. But here's him. She thinks that Melania is Trump's secret weapon. So when are we going to see her again?
She speaks so many languages.
I know. She's so smart.
I hear a lot, this question I'm asked a lot, that Jill Biden is everywhere. She's campaigning everywhere for Joe Biden, and she did in 2020. Will we see more of your secret weapon?
Yeah.
For those of us who know your wife, Melania.
Look at that. Wow.
His makeup.
Mercedes, that's pretty good.
Will we see more of her this time around, given her ability to speak so many languages, her ability, he was so wonderful with children and everyone. And I think a lot of people here want to see more of her.
They love her, I'll tell you. Mercedes, that's pretty good. Yeah, she's good.
Will we?
Yes, all right.
You know her. She's a very brilliant person. She speaks many languages, the whole thing.
I had to mute myself and then the video ended.
I know, right?
Good.
Oh,
pretty good.
Man.
Pretty good.
I mean, seriously, at CPAC, first of all, it was very empty, contrary to what the right wing will tell you on Twitter. And apparently, before Trump, it was so empty before Trump spoke. They were so concerned that he was going to freak out because it was so empty. They actually took 300 chairs and moved them out of sight so Trump couldn't see there were empty seats. So every time he walks around going, I had a full crowd, there was an empty seat in the house. It's because they took the seats and moved them out.
Everything he touches dies. Everything. Yeah. Just like
it's a hashtag, actually, that Meidas Touch.
Just like when he installs a Trumper, one of the Trump clan into the RNC position to run that, the Republican Party will be no more.
Yeah.
So how have you watched? I'm sure you've been watching Trump's decline because obviously you all these things. Like, I think
go ahead.
It's a combination of dementia and a cocktail of pharmaceuticals is my theory, but obviously I can't prove that.
Yeah.
But I have a video we're going to show later that I just keeps taking me to that conclusion, man. What do you think is going on with him?
I mean, he's definitely got problems, man. He really does. And the thing about it is, he always tries to, he'll say these things dead serious. He's not cracking a smile. He's not making a joke. He'll deadpan serious. And Nikki Haley was responsible for January 6th. And Nikki Haley, and he's deadpan serious. And then when he gets caught in that and somebody points it out, it's like, oh, well, I was joking and the liberals don't have a sense of humor. And I'm like, no, you weren't joking. Okay, fine. If he'd have said it and cracked a big laugh at the end and said, I'm joking, okay, cool, do whatever. But he's clearly not. I mean, he's clearly having these moments. And I like how that she kind of threw him that question. It was like, I have a lot of people asking me, really, what she was trying not to say, hey, everyone wonders where your wife is because she's never seen it.
Right. She's trying to spin it as like a positive in a way, like give him an out.
She tried to spin it this positive way because he's never seen with her. He's seen with his lawyer.
Well, the last time he was seen with her, she was like, "You're not getting in the fucking car with me."
Exactly.
I know, right? Go back there.
No, I mean, it's funny. You're 100% right. he has no awareness of almost what he's saying. Like, he's a perfect example of what a classic snake oil salesman is. He's just bad at it. So what did they do? They would just throw out claims or make statements and read. They were good at reading people. They were true grifters. Now, I feel like crazy that I'm praising the art of grifting, but like, Trump's not good at it. He can't even pick up on the right cues. And then when he thinks he sees something, he goes off on a tangent because he has no organizational ability in his brain for his thoughts. So Jeremy has a video later, or I don't even remember if we played it already, but like where he says, you know, you're here, you're there, and then he goes off talking about God, and he's just out of his mind.
Let me pull up this post. Brando saw it. I don't know if you follow him on Truth Social. I hate the fact that I have to go on there, but I only follow like 3 people. But this is one of his posts, and I don't know what to make of it. All capital. Truth Social is the real voice of America. It's hot. In quotation marks. MAGA 2024. Why are there quotation marks around the word hot?
Did he invent that word too?
Like, I don't know if he thinks he came up with a new term again. But see, I look into things like I just overanalyze things. Like, this guy's on Fox News talking about we have a nuclear bomb that can reach from New York to South Carolina. He said that on Fox News. And now he's talking about hot in quotation marks. I don't like it. I feel like it's I always worry it's some kind of subtle signal he's trying to send out.
Like, I don't want to give them that much credit, but it's at very least supremely incompetent.
Yeah. What was the last term he came up with? Oh, migrant crime. He invented that.
Yeah, migrant crime.
Caravan was another one that he invented.
Well,
we could go on.
What I'm interested in is, you know, it's one thing, again, Brando, you mentioned how like he'll say something and play it off and, you know, whatever. But it's not just the gaffes where he says like Nikki Haley. The cognitive decline or the dysfunction comes from, and I'm keeping a mental track in my head of his inability to even identify his wives. So he had ample time to realize he had said Mercedes and then go back on it. But how many times have we seen in his depositions where not only could he not recognize or identify his wife standing next to the woman he raped, where he couldn't pick out which one was which, but he couldn't even remember when he was married to that wife at the time. Like, it's one thing if you're going to try and play off your mental problems as, oh, I said the wrong name about my political opponent, haha. You don't know which wife you have this week. How do you play that off?
That's a great point. You know, it really is. And I think the thing is with him I think the reason why we see them doubling down so hard on Joe Biden is because they're trying to distract from what he's going through. Because that's all, every right-wing pundit out there just keeps driving home, you know, Joe Biden. If Joe Biden has the slightest misspeak or stutter, they go after that. And I believe they keep repeating that talking point. And I think that's going to be one of their main talking points from now to November is that Joe Biden doesn't know where he is. And anything Donald Trump does, they're always going to find a way to spin it that it was a joke. But we're seeing it in real time. We're seeing it unfold. And imagine this guy, you know, in another 4 years. And imagine, you know, in my mind, if he was to be reelected, worst case scenario, all it's going to be is a revenge presidency. It's
right. It's all he's planning on doing.
And the saddest part is his vocal supporters, who for a while were in most of the Republican Party, they'll cheer him for whatever he does because he never did anything for them directly when he was president. They're used to being, a lot of them, screwed by both parties, by everyone in their society, you know. But he will be so brutal. And the problem is, I'm not so much worried about him. I'm worried about the people who enable his decisions, what he would do. And I'm even more afraid if he's this in this much lack of control of himself now, what kind of people are going to have him do what things? And they'll just send him out there to be like, yeah, just say France attacked us. Sure, go say that. And then we're sending off bombs to Mexico. Like, where does it end? I don't trust any of these assholes.
I don't either. And I think that's a great point because, you know, they could easily, he can be manipulated and used so easily because his ego is so big. All the
money.
Yeah, they just pat him on the back and tell him to go, and he'll go. I mean, I was talking to a friend of mine a while back. We were talking about how that it would be hilarious if, like, if him and Biden ends up debating, Biden ought to like start giving him credit for these things. Like, he ought to be like, yeah, man, you know, you did it, dude. You overturned Roe versus Wade. You did that, because he's dying to take credit for these things, but he's dancing around them at the same time.
Get him to run the political ads against himself in real time.
Exactly.
Because you know what's funny? He wouldn't talk about anything that he would want to talk about. You would actually get him to only talk about those things, and it would just make a mockery of him.
Yeah.
I actually have, if you guys watch Biden, I mean, I think Biden's sharp. And the guy's, I love his sarcasm. Whatever I swear he has an entire sarcasm department. Because the guy's good. I have a video of him when he was on with Seth. I think the guy's name Seth Meyers. And where he just goes right after Trump. Like the guy can't even remember his wife's name. What are you talking about? I'm old. You know what I mean? At least I know who my wife is.
The funny part is no one in the Trump or his party or his MAGA cult, none of them are actually attacking legitimate swing votes. There is nobody that has any rational mind that is currently unaware of who they're voting for. And if there are people out there who are still undecided, that is not the sizable population anyone wants anyone to think. Because we're seeing the demographics. I'm watching right now the Michigan primaries going on. Biden won, by the way, 83% or 85% to whatever, uncommitted. So he's dominating again. Trump yet again winning, but like 63% to Nikki's 33%, whatever it is.
Right.
He's not blowing his competition out of the water, and his competition isn't legitimate competition. She has no chance to be named anything, and she's still taking votes away from him.
She, I think, is just sticking it out, and you can. I don't know if you agree with this.
She's waiting.
I think she's just sticking it out because there's a lot going to happen this summer with him in court and his health. I think she sees an opportunity if she stays it long enough. There's a chance that she may be the only one left.
Yeah, I think so too. I at first I couldn't figure out why she was staying in, and then I realized, hey, you know, with everything he's got going on and things could change so fast, she'd be smart to stay in, even if she loses, and she probably will. Even if she loses every state, she should still stick around.
Well, what's scary is he's going to get more desperate. Like once the first moment, because he has not posted that bond yet in the fraud appeal, by the way. So there is no fraud appeal until he posts that. So the day, because it's like 27 days now that Letitia James starts auctioning off his properties, he's going to do some crazy unhinged shit that is going to forget what he's yet to be on trial for. He's going to do something that probably commands his immediate arrest. And like, I don't think I'm being hyperbolic in saying that.
No, actually, that's a good way to go into our next video. This is somebody that supports Trump with with all his heart, Steve Bannon. But this is a CPAC, just so everybody that's watching, if you don't keep up with this kind of stuff, this is what they say at these events.
It's a scary video.
The shit that comes out of his mouth.
Today, in this very hall, the greatest president of the 20th and 21st century sat here and said he's a political dissident. He's persecuted. That is a mark upon our country because it's absolutely true, 100% true. And why is he a dissident? You know why? Because he gave us 3 years of peace and prosperity before he was hit with a Chinese bioweapon. And they stole the 2020 election. Media, I want you to suck on this. I want the White House to suck on this. You lost in 2020. Donald Trump is the legitimate president of the United States.
Now watch all the empty seats there in the back.
Trump won. Trump won. Trump won. Trump won. Trump won.
Yeah, but sure, it's not a cult or anything. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
this is the guy. This is the guy that stole the money from the Build the Wall charity, right?
Yeah,
we build the wall grift. That was his thing. He was a strategist for Trump. Was his title, I believe.
Well, his strategy was good when there was still more cult members before they killed himself off by taking ivermectin. But the thing that scares me is that guy just said that Trump was the best president of the 20th and 21st century. Now, sure,
according to
but it's very interesting to me that he gave those two time periods, which only leave the time periods of a majority of those presidents owning slaves. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, the guy. This is not being hyperbolic in any way. They want to do mass roundups immediately using the military. And put people in giant camps. Does this ring a bell to anybody? Like Nazi Germany? Does this like sink in at all? I hate the fact that Joe Biden's age is more. We talk about this a lot. Joe Biden's age should not be more of an issue than all this shit that Donald Trump is saying and doing. My
Absolutely.
God, get real. Donald Trump cannot remember his own wife's name, and you're worried about Joe Biden being 3.5 years older? Stop. Just stop. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, man. And seeing them, get like today, he was asked a question about a ceasefire, and he was eating an ice cream while he answered the question. And they just, oh man, it was the end of the world. The president's eating ice cream. It's like it was like Dan suit all over again. But like
I was just gonna say
but what I say to people on the left that are upset with Biden about certain things, it's like, listen, you can disagree with Joe Biden all day long, and there's things that Joe Biden said and done that I don't agree with either. But we're headed into an election where, for the first time in my life, I'm worried about democracy. It's like that's the issue I'm worried about. Used to we'd go in, we'd be okay. We might be against the Iraq war and our opposition might be for it, or we may be for healthcare. The opposition may be not, you know what I mean? But here we go now, we're going into it. And I'm sitting here going, it's democracy's on the line. And you're worried about, this guy stuttering, or eating an ice cream. That's what's crazy to me.
Because they have nothing.
That's all you saw on Twitter
they have
today.
Nothing. They have no platform. They have no plan. They have no logic, reason. They don't even have, honestly, a viable attack. You can't even attack Biden for the things that they're attacking him for, because he isn't mentally deficient. He isn't stumbling around. He doesn't stink. He doesn't wear a diaper. I don't know. I mean, come on.
Right? He's not covered in makeup. He doesn't have a giant comb over and pretends he have this beautiful head of hair. You know what I mean? Yeah, Biden has more knowledge in his pinky finger than the whole GOP combined.
Yes.
I agree. And Biden's been doing this for 50 years. I mean, all right, so let's play the next Trump video. This one, wow. I think it's English. We determined before the video that we think he's speaking English, but we're not entirely sure because it's not in any particular order. They're just words. So see if you guys can make any heads or tail of this.
I will never allow the big media or left-wing pressure groups to silence you, censor you, discriminate against you, or in any way tell you what you have to say. They want you to say what they want to have you say, and we're not going to let that happen. You're going to say as you want, and you're going to believe, and you're going to believe in God. You're going to believe in God because God is here and God is watching. God is watching. And God probably can't believe what he's seeing. I think he's having a hard time with this one. He's trying to figure, well, maybe he isn't, but everyone else is, I could tell you. He probably understands it very well, better than anybody. There's enough filth on our airwave.
What?
And was that a Christian conference event of some sort?
Do you think there's someone around? Do you think there's someone at the back of every venue with those airplane things, and when they wave it, that's when he knows to shut up? Because I don't think he would shut up because no one's reacting to what he's saying. And that's what's even scarier. No. The grift is over because he doesn't even have those faithful in those crowds anymore.
I'm sorry. I had to laugh because I saw the ivermectin ad next to him. They sell that shit on Truth Social too, man. It's so
it's just I don't know. I don't know what to say anymore. I'm sick of making fun of the same shit, but it gets worse and it's so creepy.
He had the same event. He told them, I'm gonna protect. I swear to God, I'm not making this up. It sounds so dumb when you say it out loud. He said that he's going to protect AM radio. He's like, I promise you, I will protect the AM radio. I'm like, AM radio? What are they
oh my God,
about, man?
Yeah, and this is the same guy that if you go to his website and look up what he plans to do if reelected, right on there he talks about how he would like to look into, NBC and different places and have them taken off the airwaves for speaking against him. Yet he's telling every accusation with them is a confession. It really is, and they're always projecting onto us who they really are. And that's really how I take a lot of that stuff when I hear it. I say to myself, okay, he's telling them that. Just like he's telling them that the election is going to be rigged. He plants those seeds. And the thing is with Trump is there's always this tiny little shred of truth that he can grasp. And he can take that little tiny shred and he can blow it out of proportion. Because, there is fake news. There is things out there that's not true, that gets reported. but he will take some little grain like that and he will explode. He'll just throw gas on it to where he muddies the water so badly that the followers go along with it. So they're already braced. If he loses, they're going to say it was rigged again. And
they're already saying it.
Yeah, they're already saying it because he pre-programs them. And it's like you guys said, it's just rambling and it's incoherent, and I call it verbal diarrhea. I mean, it's just all over the place.
And it's
but
not just him either.
Yeah, but he has a built-in scapegoat every time that if anyone points out any gaffe of his, he just blames it on us and keeps moving.
Right. But he's not even his son is even worse than him on social media because he's on Twitter. But remember recently they asked Biden and Jill or Joe and Jill, what is the key to a happy marriage? And they said a good sex life. Okay.
Ew, old people.
So then Don Jr. posts this. There's literally no amount of Viagra on earth that's going to give Joe Biden, who can barely walk without falling over wood, just stop. The more desperate they become, trying to make him seem young and vibrant, the more obvious it is, blah, blah, blah. Why are you guys so worried about genitals? Like Marjorie Taylor Greene showing dick pics. Him talking about Hunter Biden.
Republicans are obsessed with genitals. They can't wait to have a legion of people in schools just inspecting genitals all day. Like
right? The inspection.
Come on.
It's crazy, and that's one of those headlines. That's one of those posts too that reads like satire. I could see this back in the day, like being a skit that like Dan Aykroyd would have did on Saturday Night Live with Belushi. I could so see them three sitting around doing something like this, and like someone like Belushi reading that out loud, and the crowd cracking up. And this is the real world we're living in. We've
done it before on the show where we just read parts of his speeches and we can't get through them without laughing hysterically, because when you read the like hearing him speak is one thing, but when you actually get the transcript and read it, it's like, who is this person?
His own supporters don't even stay for most of his speeches. So many people are reporting on this all the time. You get there and people are waiting 3 hours for him to show up. And then he starts speaking, and 5 minutes in, they're out of there because in 5 minutes they've heard anything he's going to say because he just goes on repeat. And then he speaks for like an hour and a half. The guy's just leaning on there, barely able to breathe, rambling for an hour. Like,
if you watch if you watch the video at the beginning where he's listing off the name of his kids, he's looking at a piece of paper with the names of the kids,
and he still missed Eric. So
he still forgot Eric.
Was Eric not on that piece of paper?
Yeah. And I got a funny story. One day I was reacting to a video I seen, and on YouTube you can read the transcripts. You have the option. I thought I'm just going to read this. So I'm attempting to make a video, and I've got my camera set up and everything. I'm doing the video, but I've got the transcript over here, and I start trying to read what it was that he said. And I just got so tongue tied and so lost and so confused that I just gave up. I was like, I can't. Because when you actually read it out loud, and I was like, I feel so stupid saying this to people.
It's funny, you can read it, but as soon as you try and get your mouth to do it,
the best one to read, honestly, the best Trump speech to read is the one where he talks about corn. Not being a liquid.
You still can't get through it.
Comedy gold. That is the funniest shit I've ever read in my life.
Liquid gold. Have you heard of this? Liquid gold. I'm calling it liquid gold, and the farmers are like, "We like that." Liquid
that's
gold.
the other term he came up. He came up with a new term: non-liquid gold.
Non-liquid gold.
Shut up, man. This guy's insane.
But
all right.
Forget it. It doesn't matter.
All right. I'm sorry.
It doesn't matter.
Other part of the town hall is like his immigration policies are absolutely horrible. They had an immigration policy or bill in front of them that everybody said was basically a Republican wish list. And his little lackey, Mike Johnson, rejected it before he even read it. Didn't even read it. Just now we're going to kill it.
It was negotiated by both sides to make it so that everyone would be happy and pass it. And then they didn't pass it. And they even had their own bill, and they couldn't pass that either.
They can't govern. They're useless. They can't
don't govern. They could.
They could.
They don't.
They don't.
Yeah. And they're the least effective Congress since the Great Depression.
Yep.
I mean, that should really tell people.
the Congress during the Great Depression, I found out, was only in session for 4 months.
Yeah.
I just want to add that.
Yeah,
I just found that out the other day. And I'm like, oh shit, that's even worse. So
Yeah.
by comparison, the amount of time they've had, they are the most useless Congress in American history. And Donald Trump has been ranked the worst president in U.S. history. And we talk about this on the show a lot, and you may agree or not, but we have two governments right now. We have the Democrats who are trying. They're not perfect, no. And I don't agree with everything they do. We'll never will. It's what politics, and never going to agree on everything in politics, but they're at least trying. And then we have the GOP who takes orders from Donald Trump, who we found out, the guy idolizes Putin. And then we find out, which we'll talk about in a second, that this Alexander Smirnov got arrested for lying to the FBI. The entire Biden impeachment was based on this guy's 1023 form that he gave. They based and we come to find out this was Russian information from the FSB, which is Russian intelligence,
pipeline,
who answers to Vladimir Putin. I mean, put it together. And Putin used to be a KGB stooge. They're all about psyops like this. That's their thing. That's what they did during the Cold War. But before I get ahead of myself, let me play this video about Trump on the border. Sorry, I got on a rant there.
We'll work our way to Russia.
They're emptying out their prisons into.
What's the first thing you will do if you become president again on the border? I know that's going to be your first.
There's two things I'm going to do. Number one is drill, baby, drill, and the other thing, equal.
What does that have to do with it?
Right, what does drill, baby, drill have to do with it?
I had the safest
I'm gonna
border
drill
in the
through
history
the
of our
border.
country, recorded history, because I can't tell you about 1,000 years ago, but recorded history of the border
There was
by
no
far.
country 1,000
We had it
years ago,
down
you
pat
stupid ass.
between guys like Tom Homan and Brandon Judd and unbelievable people that you have on your show. We had a great. All Biden had to do is stay at the beach. He goes to the beach. Somebody said he looks great in a bathing suit. So he goes to the beach. If he went to the beach and didn't do it, but he canceled everything, remain in Mexico, catch and release. We have catch and release, but we had release in Mexico.
Why were you against the House, against the Senate border deal, the bipartisan border?
Well, they allow 5,000 people a week, but a lot of people took it as 5,000 people a day. They said 5,000 people a week, and you read it, and it says 5,000 people a day. Number one, that, but it also made it much better for the opposing side.
It regularized, managed the crisis.
You couldn't manage it. It was so.
So the solution to the border, first, drill, baby, drill. What is going on with this country, man?
It's worse. All of this is worse because of his, I don't know what the word is, arrogance, but narcissism. He has no inkling that he might ever be wrong, might have misunderstood something. It's just, he just goes with whatever stray thought is in his head as if it's the most novel, amazing thing that's ever happened. I've never seen anything like it.
I haven't either. And it's the first time, in our lifetimes that, we're sitting here watching a political party take their advice from a failed former president, a guy that lost the re-election, and he's trying to run again, and they're listening to him. And it's such a mind-boggling thing that they've not won with him since 2016. He's that big red wave they keep saying is coming. It's not coming. And the more they lose, the more they lose, the more they hang with him. And I don't understand in what world that would happen. It wouldn't happen in any sports team out there if someone lost that many times with a coach.
I remember when this MAGA thing kicked off in 2020, like after the January 6th and everything like that in 2021. Their whole thing was, we're defending democracy. We're defending freedom. Well, Jack Posobiec just said at the CPAC conference that they're ready to end democracy. They tried on January 6th and failed. That's their plan. They don't want the American experiment to go on. They want to create an authoritarian state where these white fake ass Christian assholes have final say. Authoritarian means whatever they say goes. They don't have to worry about courts and laws and anything like that. They can literally create their entire own freaking system. And that terrifies me because now you have neighbors calling cops on other neighbors.
What does that sound like? Nazi Germany.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, and they're saying this all out loud now. They're just going for it because, like that Jack Posobiec guy, what I've noticed is ever since January 6th, before it even started, I mean, how many people out there honestly realize that was the date that they certified the election? I guarantee if you ask most people wouldn't have knew exactly what day it was. I didn't know. I'll own it. I didn't know. Now it's a holiday to them, and it will be from now on. But before January 6th even happened, they're like, we're going to go up there. We're going to take it back. We're going to make him turn it back around. Then when it happened, they said, oh, that wasn't us. That was Black Lives Matter and Antifa. And they went back and forth on that many times. And now Jack Posobiec just stands up and says, we didn't get it done on January 6th, but we're coming back to do it again. And they're telling you out loud. They're trying their damnedest to tell us who they are, and we need to listen.
I used to think the Trump effect was just because, like, they like to say Trump derangement syndrome. No, we like to just point out treason. But the Trump effect, I used to think, was people were just comfortable being shitty, being their shittiest self.
Yeah.
But that's not what it is. It's he has allowed the open enactment of crime and hate and bigotry on a level that we have not seen since there were actual people being kept on plantations.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we're at a point where there's a population being oppressed to that level, but we're trying to put women in cages and children in cages. We're trying to let trans kids kill themselves. We're trying to make sure that babies, like little girls, could be raped. We're broadening the hate to a point where we're living in a whole society used to this disgusting, despicable, backwards thinking, and everyone's okay with it. Like, no one calls it out. We're used to it, just like we're used to the gun violence. We're used to the hate and the ignorance.
I think a lot of people hate this because everything is politics now. Everything, the Super Bowl, everything is freaking politics now, and I think it's driving people insane. Like, I used to ignore politics. I'll be honest. Until the insurrection, I did not give two shits about anything that happened in politics. My life was miserable enough. I didn't need to worry about what was going on above me. You know what I mean? So I ignored it. But after that, I started paying attention. And now I'm glad I did, because this next election, people may need to understand this completely, is possibly the end of the United States. Trump could have his birthday as a national holiday. January 6th would probably be the new Independence Day. Trump's face could be on the American flag all over the country. There could be gold statues built in every city of Donald Trump. Like, this is what you guys need to realize. It's not a game anymore. Like, they're fucking telling us, excuse my language when I get angry, the F-bomb comes out. But these people, like you said, they're telling us what they want to do. They're telling. So people need to wake up. They need to get woke. Which I know people are, the Republicans.
No, take woke back also. Take patriot back. Take the flag back.
But be on the right side of history. Don't choose hate. Don't choose ignorance, and don't ignore what's going on in this country anymore. You can ignore it again after this election if you want. But everybody needs
we won't be done
in this election. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
One and done. Like, if we win this election, I think that the Republican Party's done for at least a decade or more.
May 2nd,
Trump has destroyed it from the inside out.
May 2nd, after what's her name steps down from the RNC, I'm telling you, the minute that there is a Trump attached to the RNC money-making machine, that party is gone, because it will be legislated out of existence once all the crimes that he commits are uncovered.
You're absolutely right. And I think one thing, that is one of the reasons why, if you think about how hard they've tried to demonize woke and all these ridiculous culture wars that they've had, what that does is to sensitize people. Imagine the kids that have grown up during this era of Trump, that have grown up and now they're going to the poll to vote for the first time, and they grew up raised by Trump supporters, hearing that. Those kids have no understanding of racism. Those guys have no understanding of anything going on. They just know what they've been told, and now here they are. So that's why a lot of times when I see guys on the left, really like people like Bill Maher and guys like that goes after woke so hard all the time, I'm like, dude, what you're actually doing is you're playing right into their hands, because they want to desensitize everybody to where they'll quit caring about it. And if
undermining it.
Yeah. And if enough time passes, people will have forgot about it. And then they'll just be able to they'll be able to be led around,
Our new normal is this hate and this bigotry and this fear. So if you start to normalize the concepts, the words, the language that we're using to try and pull this country in the right direction, it's hard when you desensitize people to the real meanings of things, or you vilify things that should not be vilified, should be celebrated.
And
that's too.
The last thing that we were going to talk about, this actually leads into it pretty good, because this is how Russian propaganda works. It's blatant, it's obvious, it's repetitive. It's so repetitive that people either, like you said, listen to it or choose to ignore it. But that's how it works. But now recently, with the recent arrest of the Alexander Smirnov, can't make that name up, who was an FBI informant for, I guess, like 10 years. The information that James Comer and Jim Jordan got was told to them, it's not verified. We can't tell you if this is credible information. They knew this from the start, and they used this information to base the entire impeachment on. So let me play this video. This is former CIA Director John Brennan talking about what's going on. Then I want to get your opinion on this.
I think it's unclear whether they knew or not, but quite frankly, based on what I've seen from them, they really don't care if these things are true or not. They will just try to use them to advance their efforts to try to undermine the integrity of President Biden, as well as to advance their impeachment process. So therefore, they seized upon something that was clearly unevaluated information. It was raw. It was obtained by the FBI. Director Wray initially tried to resist providing it to the Hill, but then the pressure increased and it was eventually shared with them. But as it's now clear, Mr. Smirnov is a serial liar. Nothing that he was claiming about President Biden was true. And therefore, I think the whole impeachment effort, which was resting heavily on that, is really quite questionable whether or not it can continue.
I mean, what do you think? I think the impeachment should stop altogether, but apparently...
Absolutely. I mean, and what's so crazy is when Jordan and Comer is asked about this, they say, well, that doesn't change anything.
I know. I was like, what? And I'm like, Jordan actually is like, that doesn't change the facts. And they're like, yes, it does, because they're no longer facts.
Those are the only facts.
Yeah, that's what they've
been in denial.
It's so crazy. But the one thing I've noticed is that, you know, they know that if they put something out there, it doesn't have to be true. All they have to do is throw it out there. And if they throw it out there, then when it gets fact checked or brought down or whatever, well, that's liberals doing it. That's liberals trying to silence them. They've always got that out because they've built this in their favor.
I don't know. It's interesting. That almost made me, because, sorry, I rambled there. You just said something that made me kind of put a bunch of things together. How Alvin Bragg is already saying he needs a gag order, probably anonymous jury, all this. And then Trump's camp is like, well, that's going to preemptively poison the jury pool. Well, kind of what you said makes me think of, they've learned how to poison the country.
Yeah.
The importance, and this is why they want to ban books, right? The importance of language. Again, everything we do is based on our thoughts, our ideas, the language we use to express them, to communicate with each other. It's how we agree or disagree. So if they can just, like you said with woke, they could poison these words. They can poison the whole country with simple concepts, and it perpetuates just like a little virus. And they've seemed to have been able to figure out how to destroy or come close to destroying the fabric of our country just by dropping it. Are we that weak of a country? Why are we so susceptible to that now?
It feels like we are. And it reminds me of a story I heard one time about a guy named Lee Atwater. Lee Atwater was a political advisor for George H.W. Bush. And the story went that one day he goes on TV and he was talking. And when he got done talking, he walked off the set, and there was a young intern there that walked up to him and was like, Mr. Atwater, nothing you just said was true. And he said, well, it is now. I said it on TV. And I really believe that. I remember hearing that story years ago and going, dang, you know, that's crazy that they would say that. But now they're doing that more and more. They've realized that if they put it out there and say it, they muddy the water. If they can get the water muddy enough, you know, there's people like, I've pointed out to several people, hey, that Alexander Smirnov, and like you guys said, you can't make that name up. I'm like, look, everything he said was, you know, a lie. Well, I don't know if it was or not now.
Reasonable doubt, right? They don't even know what that means anymore. But we have a good comment just about this.
Yeah.
When Trump started using fake news, I knew where it was heading. Yes. Because he threw the idea out there, muddied the water, like you said, and that's it. Nothing's believable unless I say it's believable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now they have entire news networks amplifying the message. Like Fox News, to me, is 100% complicit with everything that's wrong with this country right now, and I hope they get everything they deserve.
They were kind of found liable for that in a way.
Yeah, but
everyone
instead,
forgets about
not
that.
only did they not go off the air, they're still the most watched news network in the country. Like,
yeah, and did you see where
busted for lying?
Yeah, and did you see where the guy was fact checking him to his face because he's sitting there telling him the election was stolen? He's saying that on Fox News. They've already been, and they're trying so hard to pump the brakes and like interject because they realize. But hey, I mean, they to me, it's one of those things like you broke it, you bought it. It's like you let Donald Trump your party. He broke your party. Now you got to pay for it. You know.
Yeah, you made him here. Now he's yours to deal with. I mean, your guys that want to amplify his voice. So now he's your problem. But most networks won't even bring him on the air live anymore. Or they've been cutting away from his speeches and being like, that's not true.
No, they are cutting away from his speeches almost every speech. It's kind of funny.
Have to.
They're like, oh crap, we don't want to
say
get
anything that's actually true.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that is all we really have for the show today. Brando, you want to say anything before we get out of here?
Well, I just really appreciate you guys having me on. It's been a blast. I always enjoy it.
Same. Thank you.
Anytime. I really enjoyed it.
Yep. I hope you enjoyed the show we were able to put together. And yeah, like I said, thanks for coming on, man. This has been a good show. Definitely a good show. All right. So everybody, we're going to get out of here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share the show, please. Me and Mike do a lot of work and we do all the work ourselves. So if you guys could just do a little couple clicks, we would really appreciate it. So everybody have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your week. And as always, we will talk to you guys soon.
Says you are currently 81 years old.
Who the hell told you that?
Yeah.
That's classified.
That's classified. All jokes aside, according to recent polling, this is a real concern for American voters. How do you address that concern going forward as you come up to the 2024 election?
Well, a couple things. Number one, you got to take a look at the other guy. He's about as old as I am, but he can't remember his wife's name.
Yeah.
And number one. Number two, it's about how old your ideas are. Look, I mean, this is a guy who wants to take us back. He wants to take us back on Roe v. Wade. He wants to take us back on a whole range of issues that are 50, 60 years. They've been solid American positions. And I really mean this sincerely. I think it's about the future. And every single thing we've done, I think we've got some good things done. Everything, and they told us we couldn't get them done because things were so divided. And but I think everything we've gotten done, he's just friendly stated he wants to do away with if he gets elected.